This week, I have Bill Stevens from BNS Racing Services and Racekeeper in the Atomic Autosports studio, and we will be talking about data acquisition and Racekeeper. We're also going to talk about Bill's motorsports and racing background. My big question for Bill is, we have all this data, now what? Bill, it's great to have you on the Late to Grid podcast, and I'm excited to learn more about you, BNS Racing Services, and Racekeeper, but especially how to use data. So thanks for being here.
Well, thanks very much, Bill. It's great being here. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, for sure. So Bill and I actually met in passing over the last 2 years at the Day of Motorsports at Nelson Ledges, which is put on by the Ohio region of the SCCA. And I posted a question in a Facebook group, and Bill jumped right on and said, "Hey, we ought to get together on the podcast." I'm so glad you did, because this is a topic that comes up so often. Everybody's got some sort of device in their vehicle. I certainly want to learn more about Racekeeper, and I think folks are really going to benefit from learning how to use Racekeeper, how to use data, and get better on track.
Okay.
So let's first talk about your motorsports background. It goes back to the mid-'60s and the SCCA. What first got you interested in motorsports and racing?
Well, I go back to my father's first car. It was a 1953 Pontiac, and had a steering wheel on it, like a rubber hose that was suction cupped to the dashboard, and I would drive along, and so I've been turning the steering wheel since like 1949.
Oh wow, that's great.
But it just evolved in high school. Of course, living in New York City, there wasn't much going on with cars, and then finally, a friend of mine and I went out to Bridgehampton to watch NASCAR, Grand National cars on the road course out there, and I don't think we were there more than about an hour, and we were hooked. That was it. We had tickets for the Mets doubleheader the next day. We drove back to New York City, called everybody that we knew. And finally sold the tickets so we could go back out to Bridgehampton on Sunday. And of course, it poured rain and they didn't race. But
oh, no.
That's racing.
But you knew you were hooked then.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that's great. I want to talk about an MG Midget that you took autocrossing. Tell us about that.
Well, again, I just joined SCCA. Didn't have a car. I was living at home with my parents, going to college. And I invited some guy that I saw on the street to come to an autocross. And he showed up, and I was the only person he knew. So he came over and we started talking. And he asked me, he says, what kind of car I was driving. And I said, well, Bill, I don't have a car right now. I'm going to college. So he said, well, can more than one person drive the same car? And I said, yeah. So he said, well, why don't you drive mine? And of course, I said, yeah, sure. That's a great opportunity. Except that about 10 seconds later, I realized I had never driven a manual transmission car.
Oh, boy. How did that go?
So what do, right? Do you own up and fess up or what? Or, well, crazy as I am, I decided I'm going to fake it. I saw what people were doing and pushed the car up to the starting line and got it going, put the clutch in, put it in first gear, revved it up around 1700, dumped the clutch, got it moving, grabbed second, and I was off through the pylons. And then I realized that the door sills came up to just about my shoulder, so all the pylons were disappearing 10 feet from the car. But I didn't hit any. Miracle. So after the second run, I brought the car back to parking area where we had stowed our stuff, and he came running up to the car and saying, "You can't do that. You're not supposed to do that." Here I thought I had broken something. I said, "Well, what's the matter?" He says, "You got a faster time than me."
Yeah, a co-driver never wants their guest to be faster than them, right?
Yeah. So, about that time, it really cemented in my mind that I belonged in motorsports.
Oh, absolutely. That is great. Where was that event?
I'm going to say Mitchell Field in Hempstead, Long Island. So
Awesome. Well, you've done some other stuff in motorsports as well. You've worked with Indy Racing League, USAC, at the Speedway, right? IMS. Tell us a little bit
right.
about that.
Yeah, well, I was working for IBM in Indianapolis, and USAC and the Speedway were just getting into electronic timing and scoring. And they had arranged to borrow about 20 or 30 PCs from IBM. And I was a workstation specialist in Indianapolis, dealing with personal computers and everything. They knew I was interested in racing, so I became the liaison between IBM and the Speedway and USAC, and getting all of their electronics up and running and all connected and everything. So, and after that first year, just kept it up with them and worked at the Speedway for all of the track rentals and things like that, as well as the 500, and got hired on when the IRL started up, and was on the traveling crew for that, making sure that all of our equipment got loaded in the trucks and set up properly at the track, and then tear down and bring back and get what's broke fixed and what. So did that for about 10 years. So
how cool is that? Working for IBM, which I think, as an outsider's perspective, a pretty cool company. And then they say, "Hey, you're into this racing stuff, and we're doing some new computer racing stuff. You're the guy." Yeah. I think that's awesome.
Yeah. So then, probably around 2001, had kind of a life-changing event, and I decided that if I was ever going to do it, now was the time to do it. And I jumped over the fence and bought a race car and fixed it all up and started racing and improved touring with SCCA.
And that was that the Dodge?
Yeah. 1983 Dodge Shelby Charger. Nice little car, little 4-cylinder, but not many people have said that they've had every single bolt of a street car off and put back together again, and it still worked.
But you did.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Where's that car now? Have you kept tabs on it?
Yeah. It's up in Cleveland now. I sold it to a friend of mine who wanted a car for a starter car for his son, who's just finishing up college. So it's still alive and well and
awesome.
And racing.
I think I've seen that car. When I saw your picture of it, I saw it on your website, BNS Racing Services website.
Yeah.
It does look familiar. I can't wait. Hopefully I'll see it on track very soon.
Probably maybe later in the year. Depends on when John's son can get to a driver's school. But it may make it out to a track day or something like that.
Is that John McFarland?
Yes.
Okay. Yep. I knew I've seen it before, and I thought it was John McFarland's son. Oh, it's going to be so exciting.
Yes, yes.
Awesome.
So,
Good for those guys. Before we go too far down the road, too, I want to let the listeners know that we're talking with the latest sales guy of the month for RaceKeeper as well. I mean,
right.
you're peddling these things. People are seeing the value in it, and you're helping them get connected and get things rolling. So I think that's awesome. I want to talk a little bit about RaceKeeper. There's a rich history. I mean, RaceKeeper was the first to do an integrated video with data logger, right?
I'm not sure if it was the first, but we were right there around the 2007 timeframe. So it may have been.
Yeah, I think I did see that on the RaceKeeper site at one point. So I mean, that's a rich history of being one of the firsts and
Yes.
and continuing to grow and evolve. What attracted you to get involved with RaceKeeper?
Somewhere I saw a little blurb that asked people if anybody was interested in becoming a track rep for them, and with my background in computers and everything and racing, it was a good fit. So I just sent them an email and said, "Yeah, I'd like to do it." And they said, "Sure, fine." So what
You're
could be
in.
better than that?
Yeah, exactly. So tell us, give us sort of the pitch on RaceKeeper. What does it do? How does it do it better than some of the other platforms out there?
Okay, so basically, we have two levels of data and video acquisition. We have the RaceKeeper systems, which are about the same that we had that started out. There have been some changes to them over the years, but basically a single box. You can attach up to 4 cameras, OBD2 input, microphone, things like that. Very automatic. They'll start recording automatically and turn off, so you don't have to be fooling with buttons all the time with them. And then about 4 years ago, we decided to go into the market segment for the more amateur racers, the guys that only are out there a couple times a year, people who do track days, things like that. And we developed the RoadKeeper system. So it doesn't have all the bells and whistles that the RaceKeepers do, but it's a lot simpler. The cameras are integrated, so when you install a RoadKeeper, everything is right there. The only thing you have to do is plug it into a power supply. So,
Got it. You mentioned the voice recording. So I did watch, there's a YouTube video on the RaceKeeper website that is from a rally car. So not only do you get the video of what the driver and I think they call it the navigator see, but you can hear their radio communications. And I think that's really important. I think there's a few cool ways you could use it. You could use it from the driver to the pits potentially, right? So maybe someone's in an endurance race or a sprint race and you want that additional data of what was communicated when. But I also think about some right seat coaching. And I've been in cars before where you have communication set up between the driver and the coach. And if I had data running and I could also have the communications of what he or she was telling me, here's your braking point, here's your turn in point, get on the brake sooner or later, whatever that is. Now I have something I could actually go back and watch and still have that audio overlay and instruction. Are there any instances of it being used that way?
Well, we just started getting into that this year, and I'm actively recruiting instructors to become dealers and to bring more people, have more people exposed to the RoadKeeper systems and have them in their car. But yes, it's a very good teaching aid because you don't remember everything that happens in a 30-minute session out on the track, especially for a new person. I mean, their adrenaline level is, up here. But being able to pull an SD card out and put it in a laptop and and sit down with a debrief session after after an on-track session is very, very helpful for the instructors. They can say, and especially when the student says, "Well, I didn't do that,"
And the video says otherwise.
Absolutely. We have a saying that says, "Without data, you're just another person with an opinion."
Ah, I do like that. Let's take a quick break. We have a commercial from Atomic Autosports here, all the great work they're doing. And then, Bill, when we come back, I want to talk about more data and specifically a mistake you see people doing. So we'll be right back. Atomic Autosports gets your car ready for the track and autocross course with custom alignments, brake upgrades, brake fluid flushes, suspension upgrades, and much more. Why Atomic Autosports? We race just like you. Your time is valuable. Let Atomic Autosports get your car ready for your next event so you can focus on your life. Get Atomic prepped and get on the podium. All right, we're back with Bill Stevens talking data and Racekeeper. So one question I want to make sure that we hit at some point was, what's the biggest mistake you see people do with the data they collect?
The first mistake that I see a lot of people do, we'll look at their data trace, and the data trace is all over the chart. It's not really following the track at all. And what happens is when you first go to a new track, if it's a couple hundred miles from the last place you used your roadkeeper or racekeeper, you have to let the system acquire all the new satellites in the new area. And unless you do that, then the GPS antenna doesn't lock in well on the and give you good GPS readings. So that's the number one. Okay.
Right.
The number two is if you have just data and you're looking at just data, speed traces, and even if you're looking at a system that shows you sector times, then if you just have data, you can see, if you're going through the keyhole at Mid-Ohio, you can be pretty consistent for 7 or 8 laps, and then all of a sudden on the 9th lap, it's different. Maybe a half a second or slower. Okay, and the data is just going to tell you that, but nothing else. When you add video into the equation here, then you can go back and look and see what happened. Okay. I have a good video of a friend of mine at Road America. Same thing. He was a second and a half slower going through the carousel at Road America. And when you look at the video, you see, well, okay, there was slower traffic in front of him. Okay, so immediately all right, it's not the driver, it's not the car, it's nothing really to worry about. Okay, so those are the big kind of mistakes. The other is overthinking the analysis and correlating the data to what's actually happening with the run. So.
So let's say someone, roadkeeper, racekeeper, they're done with their weekend. It's Sunday night. They're all unpacked. What is your best advice for them to get the most out of all the data they collected? What should they be doing with that to make the most of it?
Well, it's very simple. Roadkeeper will give you, because it has the GPS and the accelerometers, it gives you what other companies refer to as the money channels. Okay, your big channel is your speed trace. Okay, and from that, you can get a lot of information just by looking at every single lap. You can look to see if there are any flats in the curves, either either the top or the bottom of your speed curve. With if they're flat, there's could be a lot of things. It could be coasting. It could be that they're at terminal velocity, or other things could be going on. You look for the peaks. Okay, going down the back stretch, you want to make sure that your peak is very, very tight. Okay, it means you're getting off your brakes or off your accelerator or onto your brakes very quickly. Same thing with the curve at the bottom. If it's nice and sharp, it means you're getting off the brake and right back onto your throttle. Okay, so that's the basic things that you can look at, and you can review those in your sessions very easily. They're very easy to see. If you look at an expanded graph of that, you can check your braking and seeing if you're braking in a nice, consistent straight line, or maybe you got on the brakes a little light and then had to apply more brakes at the end of the corner, or conversely, you overdid the brakes at the beginning of the corner and then had to back off. Okay, so that's things that you can look at very quickly. Then you can take a look at your sector times and see how consistent you are. How consistent are you going through the keyhole at Mid-Ohio? Or then go back and maybe you were working on getting through Madness. Okay, see how consistent you are, and then if you are consistent, then you can go back and look at the video if you've got video with it. Pardon me. Look at the video and see what Did you not get over to the apex close enough? Were you farther away? What was going on? So the video really adds a lot of information to the information that you have. But these are things that you can look at very easily. You don't have to be an engineer to look at them. You don't have 30 engineers back in Stuttgart to help you analyze all that stuff.
That's a good point. You mentioned it earlier, overthinking the data is a mistake, but then you don't need to be an engineer. And I hope what listeners just paid attention to is, a lot of people say, well, I got all these squiggly lines. I don't know what it means. But Bill, what you just shared is, you're looking for those peaks, you're looking for the smoothness, you're looking for what may have happened. But the important part then, look at the video. Why did you get on the brakes too early in that turn? Was there was there slower traffic? Did you make a mistake? That can really connect a lot of dots and help people, because you're out there, let's just say it's a practice test day and you're running a lot of laps, a lot of hours. You're not going to remember what lap that happened on or that you were slow that lap. All you remember is, why was I slower that lap? I don't know why. With the data and the video, now you know. Right.
I mean, we are definitely not IndyCar drivers, and I spent days and weeks out there, and you watch these guys when they're on the track on a practice day, and these guys will run lap after lap. I mean, hundredths of a second apart on a 2.5 mile lap, and they're running 240 miles an hour. I mean, these guys are machines, absolute machines, because to do that within hundredths of a second, you've got to be doing everything, every single lap consistently, putting where you put the car on the track, lifting on the accelerator, and everything. We're nowhere near that level of sophistication and skill.
Right. So do you yourself offer coaching services to Racekeeper clients?
Yes, I do. I
All
can
right.
sit down with customers and take a look at their data and go through it with them.
So let me ask a question about that. Tell me about
Sure.
a time when one of your clients said, "Oh," because you found something in the data, and then you helped them with potentially an issue they were having on track or finding more speed. Can you think of anything like that?
Yeah, I had a friend of mine that put the Racekeeper system in their car and drove 2 sessions at Mid Ohio on a Saturday, and we looked at his data and saw some places where he could improve. And he came back the next day and dropped his fastest lap time by a second and a half.
That's a lot.
So, yes, yeah,
Oh, that's awesome.
in just a one day session. Yeah.
So for someone that's not familiar with how remote coaching might work, so do you only coach for Mid Ohio, or can it be any track?
I can pretty much be at any track.
Okay. So, and you can do remote coaching, right?
Sure.
All right. So explain for someone that might not understand the concept and they have a race keeper or a road keeper they got through you. How does that work after their event? How are you working with them? What are you looking at? How do you get the data?
Usually like through a Zoom broadcast, they would bring up the analysis software on their computer and share their screen with me, and I could take a look at it. And if I can control their computer,
Yeah.
move it around or what.
Wow. I think that's really, really cool. So let's talk about how folks learn more about BNS Racing Services, which is your company, getting access to the Racekeeper. If somebody wants to start talking to you, what's the right system? Because there's a few different systems and they come with different mounts and all this other stuff.
Sure.
What's the best
Yes.
way to engage with you?
Well, I do a lot of work on Facebook. People get in touch with me on Facebook. Look for the Bill Stevens that's in front of a little red race car. That's my primary account. Or you can email me, billstevens61 at att.net. Okay. And generally, I'll talk to a person and find out what kind of a car he has and what type of on-track activity he's doing, and to be able to recommend the best kind of a system. By the way, I'd like to show one here if I could.
Yeah, let's do that. In just 1 second, I want to point out something. So before someone goes out and just buys a data acquisition system, I love that you just said, I mean, basically you're going to consult with them about which one they should purchase, because,
Right.
They might think I have to have the latest and greatest, this and that from Racekeeper, but the Roadkeeper might be the right option for them. So I love the fact that you're going to talk to them and guide them down that decision path. But yeah, let's go ahead and see what you have.
Let's see if we can get this guy up here. This is a Roadkeeper system, 5 ounces, integrated front and rear cameras. It has a screen. This is primarily for menu to set up the settings on there. And it just mounts to a suction cup on your window, or we have roll bar mounts, and we have surface mounts available as well, all different kinds. 12-volt source. It can be a power outlet. It can be direct connected to a battery. You can even use one of those power bricks that use to recharge your cell phone.
Right.
I have a very good friend in Florida. He's got this awesome 944 Porsche, and I tell you, I don't want to tell you how many systems he blew up because it has an 18-volt system. So Finally found the best way to do it was to use a power brick for them. So, but
Right. Um, so that system you just showed,
mhm.
what's a ballpark price? What would someone be expected to spend on that?
uh, List price on that's $399.
Oh, that's a good deal. And then is there a subscription for software or anything?
Absolutely not. No, the software, the analysis software is free. No subscription. Updates are free and available for download from the Racekeeper website. No problem.
That's a really good deal. And folks, if you did not attend the Day of Motorsports, you missed the opportunity to win one of these. Is that what you gave away, was a Roadkeeper?
Yes, we gave away a Roadkeeper.
Yeah, that was great. The gentleman, I just got done talking to him before you pulled the winner. He drove up from Dayton, Ohio, up to Garrettsville where the track is,
Right.
and he went home with one of your systems. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So we do appreciate the support of that event. Where are you going to be at any events again soon where people might be able to connect with you live?
I am going to. I'm going to be at the SCCA Super Tour event in 2 weeks, week and a half actually, at Watkins Glen. I'll be up at the June sprints at Road America in Wisconsin, and any of the SCCA events. At a minimum at Mid Ohio, and I do get up there to Nelson Ledges as often as I can. So,
Yeah, we're going to have to meet up again because I'd love to pick your brain on your system in my car and get some
okay,
info. Yeah, we'll definitely be talking about that.
no problem.
And one thing we didn't talk about. So we know it can be used for road racing. We know it could be used for track days and getting faster. Folks can use it in time trial events. Time trial and time attack is getting so popular these days. But what
Sure.
about autocross?
Yeah, sure, it can be used in autocross. The Comparo software has a function that when you record a session in an autocross, you can set separate start and finish lines. And then the same thing as with a road course, you can divide it into sectors and be able to analyze different areas of the track. Okay, one thing that we recommend with an autocross, um, the system normally for road racing will start recording at a particular speed, like the minimum is 10 miles an hour. Well, with an autocross, you don't want to wait for the video to start until you reach 10 miles an hour. So we have a device that fits into the power loom that has an on-off switch.
Hmm.
So as you come up to the starting line, you're one car back, you can turn it on. So therefore, then it'll be recording as you leave the starting line. So it fits in very well with autocross and hill climb type events.
You guys have thought of it all.
We hope so.
Yeah. So I do want to go back to just to make sure it's very clear to the listeners. Is that you're at the end of the weekend, and the best thing to do is get the data, review it, look for things. First look at the lines, look at the squiggly lines, as they say, and then go to the video and say, okay, what happened?
Right.
Any other best practices with data? Should folks go back and look at it a year later and just sort of compare to where they were then? Or is it, hey, I learned from it, delete it, rewrite it?
Well, I mean, you can keep the sessions as long as you like. One of the functions of the Comparo software is to be able to do comparisons, lap-to-lap comparisons, either within the same session, or you can do lap-to-lap comparisons between different sessions. Okay, that's really nice because you might go to the track and let's say you're at a test day or what, and you're driving the car and you're thinking you're getting the most out of it. Okay, and then there's some hotshot there, like Tommy Byrne or whatever, and you say, "Hey, hop into the car," and he drives it around, and he's 2 seconds a lap faster. Well, you can take his sessions and compare that to your sessions, so you can see visually and from the data, where he is faster than you are.
I like that a lot. Yeah. A question just popped up. A lot of my listeners are new. They're just getting on track for the first time. Should data acquisition be something they're thinking about in their first season, or is that something they should do down the road?
I would say start off as early as possible, okay? Because you're going to learn. You've got to learn the system. You've got to learn what it can do, okay? The software is extremely powerful, but I just found out a couple of days ago that you could resize some of the windows on the screen, okay? You could look at a lot of good things, like the end of the back straight at Mid Ohio going into Madness. Okay, great place where you can make up seconds depending on how deep you go into that corner, and with the software you can move the position of the car cursor to right where you got off the accelerator and onto the brakes. Okay. From there, once you've found that particular point, you can switch instantly over to the video and see exactly where you were when you were braking. Okay. Not where you thought you were braking.
That is super important.
But these are some of the things that you can look at. And especially with somebody who's new, okay, they're going to go out there and their adrenaline level is up here. And they're not going to remember everything that goes on in the car during their session. So, when they get home and they've had a chance to calm down and get their brains, get rid of the red mist, then take a look and see what happened. And then they can see how much fun they had.
Right. Bill, is there anything we didn't talk about that you hoped we would cover?
Yeah. Future plans.
Awesome. Let's talk about them.
Okay. So, everything is not static. Everything changes. So, this year, we are coming out with a new version of the Roadkeeper. And this little guy is called RaceKeeper Connect. Okay. It's a little bit, it's not going to be $400. Okay. It's going to be a little bit more expensive, but a lot less than the RaceKeeper systems. Very easy to use. It's got the integrated cameras. You don't have to run wires all over your car. Suction cup mount type things. This one, instead of just being plugged into a power supply, this unit will plug into your OBD2 port or a CAN port. Okay, it'll have a 20 hertz GPS, which will give you much better GPS readings, but significantly, it will have a SIM cell phone slot that you can actually put a SIM card in and live stream to YouTube and the cloud and all those great things. So that's the big change and the thing that is coming down the road for us.
When will that be available?
Hopefully in June or July of this year.
All right.
I just talked to Angus today, and they're wrapping some things up with it.
That is, I definitely want to get my hands on that. So we have an endurance race team. We race 2 Dodge Neons and Champ Car. And one of the things we get asked all the time, not everybody can make it to the track to watch us and cheer us on. Right. So, we keep dancing around with this live streaming. This would knock a bunch of, here's the phrase I'm looking for. This would check a lot of boxes of what we want to do. So definitely let me know when that's available.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've had a lot of interest in it. We were showing it at PRI last year. We didn't have a booth, but we were showing it around on the floor.
Yeah, sneaking it in. And PRI entered my mind just a few minutes ago. Are you going to be at PRI again this year?
Hopefully, will they be there this year with a booth, especially this Racekeeper Connect gets launched. So we'll be there. So I got to talk. I'll have to talk Angus into coming back from England.
Yeah.
Our director is over in England now. He went back home.
I gotcha. Over the last couple of years, I couldn't go last year, so I couldn't go in 23. But over the last couple of years, and the feedback I got about 23's event is it's back to where pre-COVID numbers. It's growing in popularity, and we're so appreciative for everything PRI does for our industry, and to keep things moving in the racing community, especially in Washington.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll see Racekeeper in a booth in Indianapolis in early December.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, Bill, I'm going to put information in the show notes so people can just easily click to connect with your website, to email you and get in contact with you. And I really appreciate you spending some time here on the Late to Grid podcast to talk about data acquisition, your background, and of course the Racekeeper platform. So thanks again.
Bill, thank you very, very much. We appreciate the opportunity to get the word out. We don't have the facility to put full page ads and grassroots motorsports and those type of things. So this is a big step toward getting the word out about Roadkeeper and data acquisition.
Great to have you.
Okay, thanks very much.